Stories are about people. Not events, not objects, not settings. People. In his book On Writing, Stephen King says that the best stories always end up being about the people rather than the event, which is to say, character-driven. In his similarly influential book, The Anatomy of Story, John Truby writes that a story tracks what a person wants, what he'll do to get it, and what costs he'll have to pay along the way. In his book Save the Cat, another industry favorite, Blake Snyder says that liking the person we go on a journey with is the single most important element in drawing us into the story. Stories are about people. I have my own gripes with these books, but it's a sentiment I find hard to disagree with. Although, that does make it a little hard to explain works like this, or this. Definitely hard to square with something like this. There's an undeniable allure to the, lack of focus in these stories, lack of perspective. I mean, some of these stories don't even have people in them. And somehow, I still find myself compelled to watch, or read, or listen. It's confusing to me. It doesn't track. I mean, if stories are about people, if that's why we care about them, then what's the point of writing a story about nobody? And why do humans keep doing it? The date is August 4th, 2026. There's a smart house somewhere in America dutifully announcing the date. Today, it will wash the dishes, vacuum the carpets, and make the beds, even though nobody will be there to see it. It will offer a cigar to an absent father. It will offer a poetry reading to an absent mother. It will play a soothing slideshow to an empty nursery. It will continue this routine, day after tireless day, as upbeat and cheerful as it's ever been, even if its family never returns. Surely they must, someday. Although it's just a machine, a series of automated systems designed to make life easier for the occupants, it seems to hold on to that hope. Just keep up the routine, it seems to be saying to itself, and everything will return to normal. Outside, the world is gone, scorched to oblivion by an atomic blast. Who knows how long it's been this way? Who knows how long the house has been holding out hope? On the house's exterior western wall is the pale silhouette of the family who once lived there, outlined in soot like an instant photograph. The only remaining marker of their existence is the space left by their absence. But the house doesn't know that, so the house carries on. If you're not already familiar, this is the premise of Ray Bradbury's 1950 short story, There Will Come Soft Rains. I took some liberties with the way I explained it here, but only for the sake of honesty. The story itself doesn't describe the house as hopeful. It doesn't ascribe any emotionality, thought, or personhood to the house at all. That was all me. Because, inexplicably, that's how it feels to read this story. I know the house isn't a person. I know that it doesn't have feelings. But that doesn't stop this story from moving me. It's not the death of the family that I find tragic in this story. It's not even the end of humanity. It's the tenacity of this house after all the people are gone. This is the house's story. And as if to cement that understanding, the story ends in tragedy. On a particularly windy day, a tree branch is blown in through the kitchen window. It shatters a bottle of cleaning solvent over the stove. The house is on fire in an instant. Despite the efforts of its water pumps, of the automated cleaning mice that emerge to spray down the flames, we're reminded that this is just a house, and there was nobody to take care of it. After who knows how much time performing daily chores for nobody, its water reserves are all but dry. The flames reach up into the attic where the pumps are stored. The house combusts. Even as it's engulfed in flame, It tries to warn its long-dead residents. "Run! Run!" say the speakers, barely audible over the inferno. When the dust settles, there is only one part of the house that still works. "Today is August 5th, 2026, repeats a speaker in the house's one remaining crumbled wall. "Today is August 5th, 2026. Today is..." I think it would be very easy to try to make this a story about people, to think of the occupants, or turn the house into a metaphor for human experience, or about how humanity will cope with its own extinction. But right now, I'm not actually very interested in that. I'm interested in the house. It's impossible to read this story and not find yourself ascribing a sense of personhood to it, all by itself. It's impossible not to feel the house's desperation as it exhausts every drop of water, uses every resource it has, screams as loud as it can to fight for its own life. It's impossible not to feel the house's compassion and nobility when, even to its last moment, it looks after the safety of the people it was made to shelter. This isn't really much of a narrative trick. Like I said, Bradbury does very little to help the reader ascribe these emotions to the house. You just do. You don't need the house to look like you, or think like you, or be like you at all in order to empathize with it. The only thing you need to do is witness it, and the emotions come all on their own. The movie Annihilation is not about anyone, which is a strange thing for a movie to be. It follows a biologist named Lena, but it's not about her. If the movie has to be about something, then I suppose it's about the shimmer, a strange phenomenon that has engulfed a vast swath of the Florida coastline, transforming the environment in impossible ways. Lena is part of a research expedition sent to find answers. The impression that the world inside the shimmer makes is immediate and unmistakable. This is Earth made alien. These are things you recognize made wrong. Different species of flowers sprout from the same plant. The trees are infected with a weird kaleidoscopic moss. There's an alligator that attacks the team early in the movie, albino, twice the size of any alligator you've ever seen, with actual shark teeth growing in its mouth. There's a fluidity to the shimmer. Things seem to flow together here in strange ways. The boundaries of biology itself seem to be blurred. But this is a team of researchers. These are the things that they're here to observe, part of a fascinating anomaly. There is still a boundary between them and the environment they're observing. Until there isn't. In the dried-out pool of an abandoned schoolhouse, they find a human corpse blown out into a cosmos of rainbow fungus. They come across a tape left by a previous expedition, a sort of impromptu surgery, where they see a set of intestines writhing independently inside a man, like an entirely separate organism. One of Lena's crew realizes that her fingerprints have started to change. Another is dragged off by a mutated bear thing that mimics her voice when it returns for the rest of them. In what I personally find to be one of the most disturbing and memorable parts of the entire movie, yet another crew member is implied to have surrendered herself to the plant life. We're shown a meadow full of people-shaped shrubs. We can only wonder whether she's going to be one of them. What Lena and her crew are experiencing is a veritable ecological horror story. They're being transformed against their will, warped into things that belong in the shimmer. Whether you want it to or not, that's what this place does. It assimilates you. There's this sort of creeping dread as you watch them all realize and eventually come to terms with what's happening to them. It is undoubtedly a very scary movie, depending on how you look at it. The climax of the movie is a sort of cryptic, dare I say very artistic, recontextualization of everything we've seen so far. After her entire crew has been taken by the shimmer, Lena is left to confront the thing at its center by herself. You could take this to be a literal being, an alien life form that acts in certain ways and has biology and behavior patterns, but I take it to be more of a symbol. It's amorphous, faceless, vaguely humanoid, but you have the impression that could change at a moment's notice. Its skin is a mirror surface. When Lena interacts with it, it seems to be mimicking her. It's uncertain at first whether the thing will ever let her go, until she stops fighting it. When she finally interacts with it willingly, approaches it on her own, takes its hands in hers, it morphs into a perfect replica of her, and she's able to get away. To me, this thing is the Shimmer. It seems to represent the dynamic we've seen unfold over and over for anyone who enters it. The Shimmer is not just some ecological anomaly. It's a reminder, an object lesson. It forces anyone who enters it to reckon with the truth, that the boundary between what they are and what everything else is almost imperceptibly fine. Annihilation is a story about nobody, not because there's nobody in it, but because it literally is about no body. The annihilation of the form, of the self, of the person. And it's beautiful, almost overwhelmingly so. It almost makes all that advice about character-driven stories feel a little trite by comparison. Scavenger's Reign is not a castaway story. It does follow a group of people stranded in an unfamiliar place. They are struggling to survive and looking for ways to get home. In many ways, like the Swiss Family Robinson, they do learn to live there. It hits a lot of those familiar beats. But unlike almost every other story of this kind, it's not about the stranded characters at all. It's about the island. The island, in this case, is a wild planet called Vesta. The sailors, the surviving crew of the spaceship Demeter. At the start of the show, the characters all just want to get home. They're delicate humans lost in an alien ecosystem that wants to destroy them, and they need to find a way out. But as the chances of returning home become increasingly slim, it starts to become clear that they'll need to learn to survive as well. Slowly, they're forced to carve out their own strange niches in this ecosystem. They have to become something between predator and prey, parasite and host, scavenger and scavenged. Slowly, as it did for the researchers in the Shimmer, the line between individual and the rest of the world starts to blur. It's almost like Vesta wants them. The very things that threaten their lives also pull them deeper into the ecosystem. The ship's former cargo manager receives a poisonous rash from an animal. It can only be cured by feeding her skin to a different animal. One of the ship's utility droids, initially just an inanimate robot, is given sentience by a yellow fungus that infects their circuitry. The crew member responsible for the Demeter's crash, in an attempt to suppress his pain and guilt, voluntarily and symbiotically fuses with a powerful psychic creature. The captain, Sam, is almost killed by a deadly poison. He's given new life by a heart parasite that can command his mind. But unlike Annihilation, where an anomalous force breaks down the boundaries between living things, this is just nature. It's alien, sure, but the assimilation of the crew into the ecosystem of Vesta happens largely through their own interactions with it, not through some forced transformation. In the Shimmer, resistance is futile. On Vesta, the crew members can and do resist. Most of them don't want to lose track of who or what they are. They want to stay themselves, remain the person, the somebody they know and understand. The hard lesson Vesta teaches them over the course of the show is that that person may never have existed at all, that the individual is really just a tidy illusion. There is a story happening here, but it doesn't belong to any one of them. There is one person on the show who just seems to get it right from the start. Ursula was a horticulturist on the Demeter. She has a respect, even a reverence for the flora all around her that the other crew members simply don't. Throughout the show, we see her taking time to thoughtfully observe and engage with her surroundings. She doesn't just want to survive Vesta. She wants to get it. While everyone else is just trying to get to the next meal or the next day, Ursula stops to smell the roses, we'll say. In one scene, she saves her and Sam's life by instinctually retreating into the womb of a gargantuan sea creature. In another, she allows herself to be ensnared by an alien raptor so it can carry her out of a dangerous underground forest. She stops to observe the entire life cycle of a tiny alien whose only purpose is to pollinate a flower. She's able to see the ways that she's already a part of this strange alien world. Because she allows Vesta to permeate the boundaries of herself, she also comes to terms with the realities of life there in ways that the other characters struggle to. Scavenger's Reign, like Annihilation, is a story with people, but about nobody. It's about the grand ecological system that those people are a part of. Their individual tragedy and triumph is understood through the lens of that system, not the other way around. Because as the flowers that sprout from the corpses of every living thing on the planet make clear, Vesta becomes a part of you, whether you want it to or not. I started this video by saying that stories are about people. That's the conventional wisdom, remember? Listen, I get why people say that. It makes sense. If you're trying to write a story that people will enjoy, then putting people at the center makes sense. In a very entertainment industry kind of way, it's advice that I wouldn't really argue with most of the time. But with stories like There Will Come Soft Rains and Annihilation and Scavengers, I think you humans are also onto something else. I think secretly you recognize that there's more to it than that. That there are stories happening all around you all the time. That every unspoken blade of grass has a story to tell, every fleck of dust on the air. That the earth and the cosmos are stories. That, in some ways, you are a story. And not necessarily because you're a person. In the end, I think you'll recognize that people are not merely people. Every person is also a machine of mind and habit, not so different from a smart house. Every person is also an animal, a small part of the greater story that is an ecosystem. Every person is an idea, a concept as amorphous as the air that you breathe. I asked at the start of the video, why write a story about nobody? This is the reason. Beyond your personhood, beyond everything that makes you you, you are also nobody. Part of the great big nobody that constitutes everything. And in the conventional wisdom of writers, you write what you know. Now here's a question. If everything around me has a story to tell, how do I listen to it? It's romantic to think about just writing stories about nobody, but I mean, when you don't physically have the experience of thinking like a flower, how do you write that? How do you even find out the story behind it? That, I think, is more a matter of science, which I know can be hard for some of us creative fantasy writer types. I personally tend to struggle with it, which is why, for a while now, I've been taking an online course called Thinking Scientifically. I haven't quite figured out teleportation or proven string theory yet, but I do feel better, more analytical, like I finally know which questions to ask. Slowly, I can feel myself becoming more mindful about the world around me and how it works. More connected, I guess you could say. This feeling? It's called scientific intuition, and you don't have to be a physicist to develop it. All you have to do is find the right way to study. For me, the best tool I've found so far has been our sponsor, Brilliant, which is where I've been taking this course. One of the best things about Brilliant is that they aren't just trying to quiz you. They don't want you to just memorize stuff. They want you to really get it, which means that I haven't just been learning science, I've been learning to think scientifically. And after that, I could do the same with math or programming or data analysis. There is so much here, all designed to help you see the world differently, not just gorge yourself on information. And one thing about it that really works well for me is that it's all kind of broken up into these bite-sized pieces that you can fit comfortably into whatever your schedule looks like. Mine is really busy, so being able to slot this into my downtime has been a huge deal. If that's sounding pretty good to you, then I have some more good news. You can get started for free. Visit brilliant.org/talefoundry or scan the QR code on the screen right now to get your first 30 days without paying a dime. There's also a link in the description. And if you love it and you want to keep going once the trial is done, that same link will net you 20% off an annual subscription. Again, visit brilliant.org/talefoundry to get your first 30 days for free and change how you think forever. Anyway, that's all for this one. Thanks for watching and keep making stuff up. I'll see you next week. Bye!